Yahusha, Yahawashai, Yahshua, Yeshua, Yeshaya, Jesus, Joshua, also known as the Messiah, Hamashiach, the Christ. Praise the Father and Son.
Praise Jah.
So again, Shabbat Shalom to all the brothers and sisters joining us from the Zion Assembly, and also all others who will be tuning in later or even on the replay. One love to you. Shabbat Shalom to Sister Carice, to Sister Andrea, Sister Janessa, Brother John, and Faya, Zariah, Sky, Greg, Mama Greg, Auntie Elma, Shakira, Monroe family as well. One love to all, and Brother Javed to you too.
Yes, same back, brethren, Brother Sean, and all the brethren and sisters listening in. Shabbat Shalom.
Yes. Hey, Shabbat Shalom, Lady G. Shabbat Shalom. So as we be getting into this topic of the Scriptural Almanac, we covered, so far probably about four sections. Well, we're on part 3, but we did part 1 of 7, setting that calendar communication, the foundation of communications. We went into part 2, the false Israelite calendars that are being used today are Jeroboam's calendars. And those calendars basically are the calendars that are astronomically based. What you see up top in front of you here is the Most High's true scriptural seasons. And the first month of the scriptural year is February, even though many people cannot believe it. But according to your holy scriptures, the truth will set you free. It is true that Abib is equivalent to February, and it's not equivalent to March or April like the astronomical years are moving. And if you'll notice on Jah's Almanac, the second month, which is March here, and this is also the mid-season. So this is where we have mid-spring, or they would call it the mid-spring equinox, and that's when they begin their year. They begin the year with either upon that day exactly, or the new moon or lunar cycle nearest to it. Either way, people are still being deceived and using deceptive calendars, whether it's the Zadok calendar, the lunar calendar, the Jubilee, Enoch calendar. All of those calendars are false because they have false seasons, and there's other things that also couldn't be exposed. So as you see here, March, in terms of the equinox, is their first month, but it's the middle of Jah's first scriptural season of spring. And as you start to compare, the summer solstice is the middle of Jah's summer. The September equinox that we're just past around now, mid autumn, is equivalent to the 8th month on the Most High's calendar, even though many people think it's the 7th. And the December solstice as well, the winter solstice, is the middle of winter, but it's the beginning of their winter seasons. So just utilizing, this chart here, comparing these two calendars, you'll see that there's quite a difference. And this is what's happening. Most of the world is using the astronomical spring seasons, or the astronomical seasons, I should call them, as opposed to the true scriptural solar seasons that we use in the Zion Assembly of Jah, and that is compatible with the land, climate, and all the climate in Israel, as well as the Holy Scriptures. So last week we had the revelation of the true scriptural calendar, and we dealt with revealing the scriptural months of Jah's Almanac, and we got to month 6, and we'll do a quick review today, and as well we'll finish it off today and add in a little bit more information. So you can also check out part 3 if you want to, again after this lesson. But we'll try to do our best to bring you up to speed today as we got part 3b of 7, the scriptural months of Jah's Almanac. Again, we're going to be focusing on the second half of the year, but again, doing a quick review of the first half of the year. If you do have any comments or questions on this topic, feel free to put them in the chat. Don't forget to give this a thumbs up even before it's over. Just let that algorithm go out there and send it out to as much people as can that could view this. And I think that's all I have to say right now. Brother Javed, do you want to add anything?
No, it's a good intro. Let's get right into it.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to kind of move through quickly because we covered this last week, but a nice quick review won't hurt. It'll definitely establish of where we're going to be as we get in later on. The Most High's months have 28, 30, and 31 day months. So, in saying that, what I want to say is that a lunar calendar that is used out there has 29 and 30-day months. And that falls short greatly of the Most High's scriptural almanac. A lunar year is 354 days, and then you have to add in all kind of other days and months as you go through a corrupted 19-year lunar cycle with its 13-month leap years. But the Most High's Almanac has one 28-day month, which is the first month of the year, and the other months are 31 and 30 as they move back and forth and alternate. I know that the Enoch calendar has 30, 30, and 31 as the basis of their seasons. So their first month will be 30 days. The second month would be 30 days. The third month would be 31 days. And then that next season, let's call it, say, summer, it's going to start with 30, 30, 31. And then autumn will be 30, 30, 31. And then winter will be 30, 30, 31. So that's just an understanding. You may know of these things already, but we're going to be talking about these things later on. So we focused on going from month 1 through to month 6. But again, we're also focusing on how many days, proving from the scriptures how many days are in each month and what day of the weekly cycle each month begins on and stays on. Because the Most High's scriptural months and his festivals are static, they're set, they're fixed, they don't move around. So when you're looking at, as I said earlier on, when you're looking at the first month, it'll always begin on the first day of the week. So the second month will begin on the first day of the week. The third month will begin on the fourth day of the week. And as you see down here, when you're going through, we've kind of tabulated all the days of the week that each month begins on throughout the scriptural year, whether it's the common years or it's the sabbatical years. And these don't change at all. When you're using a lunar cycle, things change all the time when it comes to that. Sometimes the Enoch tries to keep things set and fixed, but again, it's off in many other ways. So this is what we're going to go through, again, covering these basic understandings of how many days are in each month and what day of the weekly cycle they'll start on. And as you can see on this chart, it's also a great chart. We'll be covering many things. You'll see it throughout other lessons, dealing with the color codes of the seasons and the agricultural seasons, along with the temperate seasons of summer and winter, the dry season and the wet season. And as you can see, there's all the days, the amount of days and everything that is in a scriptural year, especially the common year, as we're focusing on right here. So we're revealing the true scriptural months. And as we did this, again, we covered the first 3 months, months 1 to 3, and then we covered months 4 to 6. And again, we're going to just do a brief recap, but we're going to be going into months 7 through 9, which is the autumn season or latter summer. And of course, finishing off the year with the early rains or the winter season, months 10 through 12. Again, reminder, that you can see the equinoxes and solstices are the middle of the true scriptural seasons as they are here. And all the dates of the festivals are fixed. So you don't have to worry about, like other calendars, if Passover will be on a different day of the week. Now, it may be on a different Gregorian date, because the Gregorian calendar moves around. But the Passover always starts on the first day of the week, which is Saturday evening, going through to Sunday evening, and covering basically most of Sunday. So in this understanding, like looking up here, everything is going to be fixed. All these festivals where you see in the holy days in the beginning of the months, they don't move around. They'll be like this forever. They've been like that since the beginning of time. Now, one thing's important is as we talk about this first scriptural month, it's 28 days long. It can't be 29. It can't be 27. It can't be 30, 31. And I'll show you again why it can't be, even though we covered it last week. We'll do a quick recap of it. But it's also linked to the 28-year cycle, which is vitally important in understanding the seasons and how basically the perpetual, just perfect perpetual calendar operates. See, the first 28-year cycle has its foundation in the first 28-day month of creation. The first month of Abib, like February, has only 28 days, and this is no coincidence. This 28-day month sets the perpetual foundation for the 364 12-month year, which leads into Sabbath years, followed by the 28-year cycle, then the Jubilee cycles, and ultimately into the present 7,000-year cycle of human existence. So it's very vital that we cover this and you understand it. And as you know, February is the month in the Gregorian calendar that has 28 days, even though it's the second month of the year. But as you know, going to see throughout many of our teachings, it is equivalent to the first month of the year, the scriptural year, the scriptural almanac of Jah.
Mhm.
So again, this mystery of the 28-year cycle is tied to the first 28-day month. And what you see on here is the 28-year cycle emblem. It's a perfect emblem. It shows you counting the sabbatical years every seventh year in a 28-year perfect cycle. And if you don't know about the 28-year cycle, that's okay. You'll learn about it. It's something that you must know, no matter which calendar you want to follow or use. The information about the 28-year cycle is vital to just keeping everything in sync. Then on the inside, we got our 12-month yearly cycle with the seasons. Then also within that, we have our 7 festivals. And you could also say based upon the 7-day weekly cycle. So this chart here is a beautiful chart with 48 stars that represent the scriptural almanac in months, seasons, years, days, and also the festivals as well. And all of our stars that we ever show that represent anything of Jah will always be 7. We don't worship the star. We're not, doing anything of that nature, but it is symbolic greatly of Jah's scriptural truths, and it's probably one of the most important numbers in the Holy Bible itself. So what we covered last week was we went to the first week of creation, right? The first week of creation, that first day of creation is Abib 1, the beginning of the first week, the first month, the first season, the first year. And all we had to do was count. When we got to the 7th day, the Most High blessed that 7th day, that special Sabbath, and that was Abib 7, or the 7th day of the first month. It was the 7th day of the first week, obviously, the first month, the first season, year. So all we have to do after that is count. After 7 comes 8, and then if we're counting by 7s in the weekly cycle, we have 14. And the 14th at evening is the beginning of the Feast of Passover. The Passover week is 7 days long, from the first day of the week through to the 7th day of the week. And again, we're looking here just from creation. We're creating a calendar, an almanac from the beginning of time. We're not going anywhere else and talking about the sun, moon, and stars in this instance right now. Although the sun, moon, and stars have an activation and an understanding in Jah's almanac, but it's not based upon months, nor festivals, nor weeks. And as you have here, the 4th day of the week is when the sun, moon, and stars were made, and that's when most people would say that's when the calendar begins. Like that would be the first day of the year or the first day of the first month, and all of that obviously is erroneous because the Most High was counting from day 1 through to day 7. So this is a 28-day month. And again, we're going to show why it can't be longer than 28 days, but this is the perfection of Jah's scriptural almanac. The first month of the year sets the foundation, and if you have a faulty foundation, then everything built upon it will be faulty. So looking at it in a general sense, the 28-day month, you can see we have the scriptures along from creation, also as it's tied to Leviticus chapter 23. This is, it says 1 again, 23. This is going to be the first Sabbath of the year. We talk about the Sabbath in Leviticus 23. The Passover, the killing of the Passover, the Feast of Passover, the 7th day, and the waving of the sheaf. Again, the first month has 28 days long. It's a basic, very basic count, but people may want to know why can't it be 29 or 30 like other calendars profess. So as we're saying here, 28 days long, but we're going to look at it. Can it be 29, 30, or 31 days? And the answer to that is no. And, looking at 32, 33, 34, 35, there's no need for us to worry about that. The almanac doesn't move that way within the regular common years or even in the sabbatical years unless we're talking about the 12th month Adar. So there's only 28 days. So when we're talking about this is the first month, we showed why the second month is very important. We went to Exodus chapter 16 where we read about the 15th day of the second month, and that the Most High began giving them manna. He gave them quails in the evening, and he gave them manna. He doubled up on the the 6th day of the week, and he gave no manna on the 7th. And this lets us know, because it's talking about the 15th day, that this 15th day would have to be the first day of the weekly cycle. And then just by counting backwards, 14, 13, it'll bring you back to the first day being the beginning of that month, which lets you know if the first day of the month of the second month begins on the first day of the week, then the first month ends on the 7th day of the week. We kind of try to show why. Again, we went to Exodus chapter 16, talked about the manna. He gave them the quails at night, and then in the evening he gave them flesh, and in the morning he gave them manna, and this fell for 6 days. And that first day was the 15th, so we can count on the 20th, because we can count the 6th day of the weekly cycle. Double fell, and no manna fell on the 21st. And then Jah kept this 7-day cycle going through for 40 years. Brother Javid, you can read this scripture here.
Yes. Exodus 16, verse 8. And Moses said, "This shall be when Jah shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, and in the morning bread to the full."
Okay, and the next verse there.
Numbers 11, verse 9. And when the dew fell upon the camp in the night, the manna fell upon it.
Mm-hmm. So just like this chart shows, the manna falls on the night, the quails are given at night, manna is reaped, manna falls, reaped, so on and so forth. Letting you know clearly that the 15th day of the week, 15th day of the month, is the first day of the week. This count is very clear. So up here in the blue, you have the first 28-day month, Abib, and it goes along with the 7-day weekly cycle. And then we had that 15th, which was the first day of that count, right? On the 15th day of the second month after the departing, this is when he began giving them the 7th-day Sabbath. And they were to go out and gather a certain rate every day. And then on the Sabbath, he's going to give twice as much, as I said before, on the 6th day, and none on that Sabbath. Now, all we got to do is that once we know that the second month begins, second month, the 15th day is the first day of the weekly cycle, all we would have to do is count and number, as the Most High keeps telling us in his scriptures, right? So we can see that if you go 15, what would be before that would be 14. And so we just count basically from 15, 14, 13. And when you go all the way back again, the beginning of that second month will be on the first day of the week, as if letting you know that the first month ends on the 7th-day Sabbath and is only 28 days long. Lots of information here, but this understanding is quite profound in setting the foundation. If you don't have an almanac or a calendar that doesn't have the first month as being 28 days and ending on the 7th-day Sabbath, and the second month beginning on the first day of the week, your almanac is scripturally flawed. From the Holy Bible, it shows that. So again, there's a connection of the ending of the first month, the 28th day, to the first day of the second month. And it's all, again, we're using scriptures. Exodus chapter 16, we read it clearly last week, and we went over it. So as we look at these first 4 weeks of creation, it establishes the foundation of the first month, again, which is only 28-day, is the only 28-day month of the true scriptural year. And this cornerstone of 28 is the fixed foundation of all the months, feasts, seasons, and years within the 28-year perpetual cycle. So again, the first 4 weeks from creation is the foundation of your holy almanac. It includes the Passover. It includes the waving of the sheaf. All of this is understood from the first month of creation. And then when we go to the second month, again, just utilizing our understanding, we see that the 15th also is the third week of that month. It's very similar to how the Abib is set up in terms of they both start on the first day of the week. And this is the Passover, the second month. This is the middle of the true scriptural season called spring, or the latter rains. It's the first day that the Most High began raining manna for them. And it's also the day that the Most High reigned in the flood. The flood began raining on the 15th day of the second month, although the scriptures try to say the 17th day, but that's an error. And there are errors in the scriptures that can be corrected utilizing many other verses to help us. So again, there's No 29, 30, and 30-day months. I mean, I want to show you why it can't work that way. Notice in these charts I'm going to show you that if the first month of Bib had 29, 30, or 31 days, that wouldn't line up with Exodus 16 as it relates to the 15th being the first day of the week and the 21st being the seventh day Sabbath. Right? So we have here a Bib starting on the first day of the week, and let's say a Bib had 29 days. So that means the next month, Zif, the second month, would start the day after, which would be a Monday. So this is the second month Zif utilizing this. So this number one here is this number one here, just so we can see. And then we can see where the 15 is. And if the 15th is supposed to be the first day of that weekly cycle, that count, we can see that it's not the first day of the week. And the 21st is definitely not the seventh day. And remember, the Most High was teaching them how to keep the Sabbath. So the 15th has to be the beginning of this first weekly cycle when he began giving the manna. And the 21st, obviously, just by deduction, would have to be the 7-day Sabbath. But if you had 29 days, it wouldn't work out. Let's say you had 30 days and you're using the Zadok or the Enoch Almanac or the Jubilee calendar. They're going to have 30, 30, and 31 day months. So their first month, let's say if it was 30 days, that means that it would end on the second day of the week. And right here would be the beginning of the next month. And then when you're counting it, this is the next month right here, beginning on the Tuesday. So here's the month again, as I'm showing you. We look at the 15th and we see where the 15th is. Right? The 15th is on the third day of the week, but it's supposed to be a part of the first day of the week, same as the 21st. So a 30-day month doesn't work, and neither would a 31. I'm utilizing the same thing. If it was 31 days, it would end on the third day of the week or that Tuesday. The next month would be on the fourth day of the week or the Wednesday. Here it is here again. We see that the 15th now becomes the middle of that week, and it's supposed to be again the beginning of a weekly cycle. The 21st is supposed to be the seventh day Sabbath, but it doesn't work out, right? So this understanding that I'm showing you is just kind of like one of that, we call it a litmus test, right? A litmus test, a test to see if something is accurate. And we can see just by simple deduction that it's inaccurate. It doesn't recognize that in Exodus chapter 16 where the 15th is the first day of the week, right? Brother Jabba, do you want to add anything here?
No, this is excellent understanding to emphasize and review for the people. And it's a good understanding to know that the first month is a foundational month. It has to have 28 days. It is no coincidence that the Gregorian month February coincides with that 28-day count, and it's a perfect count. And once you understand that Jah regards the number 7 as the number of perfection and wisdom, you can see clearly how the number of days in the first day of the first month, which is 28, is perfectly divisible by the number 7. 7 times 4 is 28, and it's the blueprint, as Brother Sean said earlier, that first 28-day month is also the blueprint of the 28-year cycle. So it's a foundational month, and that's why it's the only month within the 12 months that has 28 days.
All right, that's well said. Hey, Shabbat Shalom, Judah B, and again to all who are joining us. One love. All right, so this, like I said, Brother Jabba was saying, this is very clear. Again, so if your almanac, has this understanding, it's off. Now, one thing I do know is that this is the Enoch calendar here. And as we look at this calendar, along the side here, they set it up a little bit different. So we have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So they do the weekly cycle on the side. There's nothing wrong with that. And the beginning of their year, this is the first month of their year, is on a Wednesday. And the reason for that, family, once again, is because they believe the fourth day of the week, that Wednesday, the fourth day of the week, is when the sun, moon, and stars were originated and created. So they're going to start their calendar, their first month, from that, fourth day. But again, that first 7-day Sabbath is 7 days from the first day of the week. It's not 7 days from the day that the sun, moon, and stars were made. So there's something wrong, right? And just to let you know that the sun, moon, and stars have nothing to do with God's holy days, because the first 7-day Sabbath has nothing to do with, the cycle of the sun, the cycle of the stars, or a cycle of the moon. Yes, they're operating out there, but the first Sabbath, again, had nothing to do with it. By that time, even the sun, moon, and stars were 3 days or 2 days old, coming into creation. So doesn't work out that way. But nonetheless, when we're looking at this is a setup of one way that people do the Enoch, beginning from the first day of the week. So when they go from the first day of the week, and again, going this way, 4, 5, 6, going up, starts 12, goes down, and then their first month has 30 days, like I said. But this 30-day month begins on the Wednesday. So now when we go to try to do the Exodus 16, this is their second month. We just got to look for the 15th day of the month. And we see that this 15th day of the month, it falls on a Friday, the 6th day of the week, pretty far from the first day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Even the 16th is on the Sabbath. So again, looking at this lets you know right after the bat, again, this 15th has to be the first day of the weekly cycle. We just showed that with the first 2 months. And we're going to go past this. We don't need this right now. Here's something that we, let's go here. This here actually is a misplaced slide, but it can still go on because, as Brother Java was talking about, this 28-year cycle that we operate. And I want to start to bring it out, a little bit later on today. But just so you can find out yourself, there's a 28-year cycle where calendars reset. It's like a perpetual understanding of calendars. And once you know this, that after 28 years, the calendars reset again, it lets you know that the seasons and everything that they're keeping on the Gregorian calendar are keeping intact based upon the weekly cycle. And there is a 28-year cycle that the seasons repeat in every 28 years. And so, for example, you'll see on this chart here, we're in the year 2025. Well, 28 years later is 2053, and that means the calendar that we use for 2025, that calendar, whatever January begins that year and everything, it'll also be used on 2053. It'll be used again 28 years later at 2081. It was used in 1997. So the same calendar, let's put it this way, the same calendar from 1913, that year, the calendar from 1941, 1969, 1997, 2025, going on, all in this red box, they are all the same calendar. They're going to be on calendar 9. You see right there?
Mm-hmm.
Calendar 9 of their Gregorian calendar. So they have their years, and every fourth year is a leap year. So as we're looking up here, 1, 2, 3, there's a leap year. 1, 2, 3, leap year. So we have 7 leap years, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because there's 7 days in a week. So each leap year, you're going to see that a leap year will cover the 7 days. Like leap year 1 is on Wednesday. Leap year 2 is on Monday. Leap year 3 is on Saturday. Leap year 4 is on Thursday. Leap year 5 is on a Tuesday. Leap year 6 is on a Sunday. Leap year 7 is on a Friday. In other words, the leap years cover, there's 7 leap years, and they cover each day of the week. So no leap year repeats on like 2 leap years on a Wednesday. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Is it making sense, Brother Javid, there?
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Right. So the weekly cycle, and this is how they base it on 7 times 4. Why is it 4? Because they have 3 regular years and then they have a leap year. So 4 times 7 gives you 28. And this is how they have their Gregorian perfect calendar. But we're going to talk about Jah's, because really what it is they're copying the same thing that Jah has. So although the Gregorian calendar is pagan, it's definitely more functionable than any lunar calendar. And all those other calendars have to kind of keep up with it, whether you're using an Enoch, or if you're using equinoxes and solstices, then you have to keep up with the astronomical Gregorian calendar and Julian calendar. Otherwise, Jah's Almanac is the only original where the Gregorian gets its cue from to have the 20-year cycle.
That's right.
So back to what we're talking about. Remember so this is the first month of the Enoch calendar, and this calendar begins on a Thursday. See, they pick different days. And the reason why they picked the Thursday, because although the sun, moon, and stars were made on day 4, they went into operation on day 5, right? And this is, again, an understanding that is flawed in terms of utilizing when to begin the year. Why would you begin the year on the 6th or the 5th day of the week, when Jah was counting from day 1? But if you look at, again, this is the second month. So first month, second month, third month. The second month, the 15th, is on a 7-day Sabbath, the exact opposite of the first day of the week, right? So again, letting you know that this calendar is not utilizing the true scriptural almanac and understanding of the 28-day first month and beginning on the first day of the week, ending on the seventh day of the week, and Ziph, the second month, beginning on the first day of the week.
That's right. This is a perfect example to show you that all of these calendars are false. And if you have to use the sun, moon, and stars and begin to number your days for when they were created, you are going to be in error. And that's why it says in Psalms, so teach us to number our days that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not taking heed to Jah's word by beginning to count their numbering system from the first day of the week. And
That's
so
right.
they're not counting or numbering days properly according to Jah's wisdom of the number 7, and using number 7 as that 7-day weekly cycle is the beginning of time from
That's
day
right.
1 and counting to day 7. And so their whole calendar system is erroneous and is false. And this is what we see here today. And this is why we're trying to teach the people now to learn to number their days and count them correctly, so you can see clearly how the true almanac of Jah begins on the first day of the week, and how that first month has 28 days, and how the rest of the days of the month follow 31 and 30 days, which total 364 days in a common year.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Miss Brother Javed. All right, so we know now the second month Ziph, as we learned, it starts on the first day of the week. We got our 15th right there from Exodus chapter 16. And, it has 31 days. Now, some could say, well, maybe you can have 30 days. And let me say this again. If you have 29 days at all, 29, 30, your year will never be 364 days. It can't work. It's impossible. And that's why the lunar calendar with 29 and 30 days will never be 364, no matter what they do. So when you're dealing with the calendar, I want brothers and sisters to remember this, because, let's say, when we don't really know, say you don't know about this calendar, and you might say, oh, all these numbers, how can anybody be right? And if you kind of get in that mind frame and just stay there, say, well, nobody can be right. A month could be 37 days, 39 days, 42 days, 20 days. How is anybody going to know? Well, Jah's going to show us. And once you have an understanding about the 364, and 7 times 52 is 364, and Jah respects his weekly cycle, then you'd have to have an almanac that's going to fit all 12 months accordingly, properly, and perfectly within that 12 months or 364-day season, right? Because it has to fit in. So you can't just make up numbers, and even though the world has different calendars and do things, no, Most High's calendar is perfect. And again, let's move through, but this is important.
Mm-hmm.
So this month has 31 days. Now, don't worry, we're putting it all together. This is a bib. The first day, of course, is set. The 7th day is set. We have week 2, 14. We have week 3, the 21st. Now, when you read Leviticus chapter 23, verses 11 through 16 here, it's talking about the waving of the sheaf, which is the beginning of the count to the Feast of First Fruits, or Pentecost. Now, when you count to the Feast of First Fruits and Pentecost, if you know this already, it's 7 Sabbaths, 7 weeks, which is 49 days. And the day after that 7th Sabbath is the 50th day. So when we count from here, the beginning of the weekly cycle, because it's called the Feast of Weeks. So you're going to start from the beginning of the weekly cycle. The first 7 days and the last 7 days of Abib is going to be that first Sabbath count. So this will be Sabbath 1 in terms of the count of the waving of the sheaf. And when we just kind of, again, look at it on a broader scope, we have the waving of the sheaf on the 22nd. This is our first month Abib. We have the first Sabbath, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. And then we have this 49th day. Then the Sabbath after is the 50th day. This lets us, when we're looking at here, we have 28, 31, and 30-day months. Now, you might say, well, why can't this be 30 days instead of 31 and this 31? And we'll just take a look at that as well, right? So we're getting the first 3 months. We have Abib. And then Abib, it doesn't end here in the blue, but we're counting that waving up the sheaf. And everything in this yellow, the bright yellow here, not the brown, darker brown, is that count. So the waving up the sheaf is the 22nd of Abib. The first Sabbath that's going to be the 28th of the date. And then we have Ziph counting 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. And we have the 12th day or the 50th day of the 3rd month, called Sivan, is the date of the Feast of First Fruits. Up top is how just what I've been showing you is true, but below is saying, okay, well, 28 and 28 will agree there, but what if there was 30 days? Take a look. Instead of 31 days, then obviously Ziph would end on the second day of the week instead of, ending on the third day of the week. But then that would mean if this month ended here on the second day, the next month would have to begin on the third day right here. So you can see it's going through. And then if it had 31 days, right, it would end on the fourth day of the week. Notice up top, even though it's 31 and 30, and below is 30, 31, no matter how you want to see it, this third month is going to end on the fifth day of the week. You see number here 30, and even if it was 31. This is inaccurate, but this is for the sake of individuals who have questions, right? How do you know why can't it be? So I don't want to be confusing in bringing these things out. But again, when you're talking about numbers and counting, we have to really be diligent. And so I'm hoping that this is helping. Now, again, notice here in the red, it has the 12th being the date of the Feast of Pentecost. That's what this is. And then here, if you were doing it this way with the 30-day month, you would have the 13th being the date. But 12 is just scriptural number. As you know greatly, just speaks nothing of 13 in his holy Bible. 12 months, 12 apostles, 12 disciples, 12 hours in a day. We can go on and on. 12 is very prominent. And so, knowing up here is the true almanac, you see that it ends on the 30th day, right? It ends on the 30th day here. So that means the fourth month is going to start on the sixth day of the week. And if, again, just looking at the numericals, even if you had, this is 30 and 31, no matter what, the fourth month is going to still start on the sixth day of the week. And that's one of the things I want to highlight is like, no matter how you want to see it, this is wrong, but you're doing the bottom is wrong. But this is that, for sure, when we get these numbers, for sure, by the count, using the Holy Scriptures, the fourth month must begin on the sixth day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you wanted to utilize a different count, 30 and 31 instead of 31 and 30. But this date up here makes it solid rather than the 13th. Making sense, Brother Javin?
That's right. I see it. That 50th day should fall on the 12th day, not the 13th day of the month.
That's right. And again, no matter what, we're still going to have that first month. Both these agree that it has to start on the sixth day of the week. And the fourth month does have to start on the sixth day of the week.
That's right.
Okay. So again, we're just taking a look here. This is the truth. The 15th day is the mid-spring month. This is the festival. This is the count of Pentecost going through. You come through the first day here of the weekly cycle is the Feast of Pentecost, the 12th day. This is the first 3 months. So now we looked at months 4, 5, and 6. One thing we know is that this fourth month has to begin on the sixth day of the week. We just spent some minutes confirming that, right? So when we take a look, we can see that the fourth month does start on the sixth day of the week, of course. It has 31 days, 30 days for the fifth month, and 31 days for the sixth month. Now, this is how Just True Almanac works. We're breaking it down. So if month 4 ends on the first day of the week, obviously month 5 has to begin on the second day of the week. If month 5 ends on the third day of the week, obviously month 6 would have to begin on the fourth day of the week right here. And if month 6 ends on the sixth day of the week, this lets you know that month 7 would begin on the seventh day of the week. Right? So knowing this function, we have 31, 30. We're going 31, 30, 31. So let's take a look again at the fourth month. It's the beginning of summer. Starts on the sixth day of the week. This is the fourth month here. As you can see, starts on the sixth day of the week, right? Now we're going to do the other way of counting this almanac and looking at it. So now when we're saying, hey, Judah, the fourth month, it has 31 days. We know that, but hey, let's say it only had 30 days. So we go down here and we can see that Judah still starts on the sixth day of the week. But if it had 30 days and somebody wanted to argue about that, it would end on the Sabbath. That would therefore have the next month beginning on the first day of the week by deduction, and it would have 31 days. Because remember, again, you have to do 30, 31 to get to 364.
That's right.
You can't do 30, 30, 30, and 31, 31, and you mix it up. It has to be 364 days. And this is, again, something, again, to bear in mind. So we have 31 here. Now, I want you to notice that up top is the true almanac. It does begin end on the first day of the week. That means the second month begins on the second day of the week. But now we see here that the second month ends on the third day of the week. Well, even if down here was 30 and this was 31, we would still have the second month ending on the third day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
What's the point here? That the sixth month has to start on the fourth day of the week, no matter which way you would look at it, right? It has to start here. And if it has to start here, the fourth day of the week, again, this is confirming these numbers. But it wouldn't be here. And you could say, well, it could be if you wanted to, but it doesn't go 31, 31. It doesn't go 30, 31, 31, or 31. It's, again, it's alternating 31, 30, 31. This is 30, 31, and 30, but we've already began this alternating from the second month. So what am I saying here again in this area here? All right, we know that the sixth month has to begin on the sixth day of the fourth day of the week, and because I said it last week, the seventh month has to begin on the seventh day of the week. It's the only month that does it. This lets you know. But if this was only 30 days, so if this was 30 and 31 and this is 30, then you would have the seventh month beginning now on the sixth day of the week, and that would be unscriptural, as I'm going to show you. Because the seventh day of the week for the seventh month is very, very important, and you'll see why. So again, this is the true count up here. Down here, will agree saying, hey, you have to start it from here, but this month is 31 days and not 30 days because the seventh month, which is after 6, has to begin on the seventh day of the week. So here's the fifth month, beginning on the second day of the week, ending on the third day of the week. All scriptural with these verses giving you the dates of the month. This is the scriptural almanac. So again, looking at it clearly, right? Now we're going to take a couple of reads here of a couple of verses.
Haggai 1, verse 14. And they came and did work in the house of Jah of hosts, their El, in the 24th day of the 6th month, in the 2nd year of Darius the king.
Now, the point of this in this verse is letting you know, hey, there was work being done, right? And we know that this month starts where it's supposed to start. So this, just counting along, the 24th is on the 6th day of the week. Now, let's say the 24th was on the Sabbath, then that would, it wouldn't match up with the scripture here because it says they did work, and we know on the Sabbath you can't do work.
That's right.
So they would have to have finished their work on the 25th or by the beginning of the 25th. It's like when the Most High says, it says in Genesis, evening, morning, first, second, third, sixth day, and Jah finished all that he made on the sixth day. Then it says, and on the seventh day he rested and hallowed it. So he did all of his work on the sixth day, and then he hallowed the seventh day. And that's the same thing here. Again, when he hallowed it, he stopped working. And you're going to see here what I mean by this. This next verse here.
Nehemiah 6, verse 15. So the wall was finished in the 25th day of the month Elul, in 52 days.
Okay, so you see, it was finished on the 25th day, right? That's this 25th day here. So it was finished by that time. It's like everything, all of the Jah's work was finished. That 25th, it was finished. Now, I want to let you know something here. When you're doing focused reading, in Haggai chapter 1:14, this is focusing on them working on the house of the Most High. And in Nehemiah chapter 6, this was a time when they were working on the wall. So although we have the dates of the 24th and the 25th, just letting you know that they're not referring to that as the same exact event.
Same.
It's something different.
Yeah.
One was the building of the temple, and one was the repairing of the wall. But it does give us, you hear what I'm saying, right, Javin?
Yeah. It's not referring to the same event, and that's a good distinction to make.
So we know that the 25th now is a Sabbath. It says it was finished, right? So everything was done here. So again, looking at very clearly, this has 31 days, and now the seventh month we're going to get into. So
and this is good. This is a good thing that you're showing because we're not choosing any day of the week. what we think that the 24th is on. No, we're saying that the 24th day of the 6th month has to be on the 6th day of the week. And the work ended on the 25th day because that 25th day is a Sabbath day. And the point we're trying to get to is that we're going to lead up to the 7th month has to begin on the 1st day of the week. And that's
the
why
7th month has begun on the 7th day. Yep.
The 7th month has to begin on the 7th day of the week, which is why the 6th month must have 31 days. And that's why that's why we're showing you that the 24th has to be the 6th day of the week. So when you do the count, that 31st day will end on the 6th day of the week, also leading you in to the 7th month, which begins on the 7th day of the week, which is perfect.
That's right. So again, Elul, the 6th month, ending on the 6th day of the week, as Brother Jabbat said, Etanim, the 7th month, and autumn begins on the 7th. So as we just go through again, this was that season there, right? The 4th to the 6th month. You can see that this season began on the 6th day of the week. This is what you would call the summer season. It begins on the 6th day of the week, and it happens to also end on the 6th day of the week. 3 months later. Very unique and just things.
Good point.
All right, 7 months, 7, 8, and 9. Again, remembering the first day of the week is the first day of the year, of the weekly cycle always. And that means that the year will always end on the 7-day Sabbath. But here now we're going to see something very unique, that the 7th month is the only month, especially when you see in scriptures, that begins on the 7th-day Sabbath. And it's the only beginning of a month that Jah highlights. He don't tell you about make sure the first of this other month or anything. He's very specific about this 7th month. And as I said, Jah's number 7 is great and powerful. And Jah, in his wisdom, only has this 7th month beginning on the 7th day of the week. Because you take a look, all the months begin on all the other days of the week, from 1 to 6. They vary, whatever it is that Jah made, but only month 7 can begin on the 7th-day Sabbath.
Yeah, these dates are like anchors. It only makes sense that the first month begins on the first day of the week, and that 7th month begins on the 7th day of the week. These are stamped in pillars that you can't move from.
That's right. Now, I want to let you know something also. When you take a look at this chart, 6 months have gone by. That's half the year. Now, the second half of the year, the ending half of the year, is beginning on this day here. But I want to let you know, you see this day here? See, there's 364 days in a common year. Half of 364 is 182. The 7th month begins on the 182nd day, which is the 26th Sabbath of the year. Half of 52 is 26.
Ah.
I want you to hear what I'm saying here. So if you were to count all these days from day 1 to this, it's 364. But when you count from here to here, you have a perfect half a year. 182, right? That's what I put in there. 182.
Yeah. No, I see it. That's
182 plus 182 is 364. Also, it's the 26th Sabbath of the year. Let's just do a quick count and see if it's true. Because 26 is half of 52. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Wow, some beautiful things here.
Yes. Great. This is great knowledge to open up to the brethren and sisters.
I'm telling you. See, these things just teaching us how to number our days. Did we look in the sky? That quote say, hey, you know when the new moon and the lunar cycle begin? None of that, eh?
None of that.
Remember, since we started this thing, we went into the Holy Bible. And you're not going to get that anywhere else. And guess what? I know people are going to fight it because they always fight truth. But this is the uniqueness and understanding of just scriptural almanac, right? Heavy stuff here, brother.
Yes, indeed. I like that.
This day is important. So again, we got the 6th month, and then we have day 182. And this 7th month is beginning on the 7th day of the week. And it has 31 days. And if this 31 days ends on a Monday, the 2nd day of the week, then that means the next month, the 8th month, will have to begin on the 3rd day of the week, the Tuesday. And if it had 30 days, it would end on the Wednesday. And that means the ninth month would begin on the Thursday. And if it had 31 days, it would end on the seventh day Sabbath. Ooh, some type of perfection is going on here. We have the seventh, this is autumn, this, from the seventh to the ninth. It begins on the Sabbath and it also ends on the Sabbath. This
Mm.
begins on the sixth day of the week and ends on the sixth day of the week.
Ah, I see what you're showing. Yeah, yeah, I
You
see it.
see it, right, brother?
Yeah, good cross is good.
I know you like these little new things, but yeah, man, this is a good understanding. Six, six, the seventh, the seventh. Wow.
See, Jah opens up our eyes to show us new things that maybe we've never seen before, even though there was always right in front of us.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. It's always there. It's a beautiful thing, you know. I really think it's Irene. And even, and we spoke about it. We spoke about it last Sabbath, but I'll get back to that. So, all right. So let's again. I'm not moving on. We're staying in this focus now. We're in the second half of the year. So here's from day one to Sabbath. This is Ethanim, equivalent to August. This is when autumn begins. It's a holy month. It's the season of seed time, the beginning of this season. And Leviticus 23, brother, give that a read.
Leviticus 23, verse 24. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, in the seventh month, in the first day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets and holy convocation.
All right, a holy convocation. So it says, in the seventh month, in the first day of the month, you shall have a Sabbath, a special holy day, a memorial of blowing of trumpets. And this day is actually important because it's also symbolic of the time that Joshua, son of Nun, when he was walking around Jericho with the army and the military of Israel, and they did a lap on the first day, they did a lap on the second day, the third, fourth, fifth. Each day they did a lap, but on the seventh day Sabbath, they did 7 laps around Jericho, and then they blew the trumpets on that seventh day, and all the military men rushed them as the wall collapsed. So again, focusing in this area here, you see that the seventh month, the first day of the month, is very special to Jah.
Right?
Very
It's a
special.
Sabbath day. It's a holy day.
It's a holy day. He don't talk that about the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, seventh, eighth, fifth, sixth, eighth, ninth, 10, 11, 12. He never talks like that. In the seventh day, the first day of the month, you'll have a Sabbath. You understand? And this is from something that I also know as well, that I don't think that Jah's new months that he has the first day of the month would be a Sabbath. People might take it off, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a Sabbath. You understand? A holy day. The first day of the seventh month is a holy day. And the first day of the 12 months, don't worry, I mean, they're holy. And, most people in Israel will probably take those times off, but we don't have no command in the Torah about that. That's what I want to focus on. There's no command saying in the beginning of this month, you must have a Sabbath or a holy day, only for the seventh month.
That's right.
Just remember that. He mentions the other months. He says the beginning of months, you sound the trumpet and everything, but he doesn't call them like a special holy day. Whereas on the 7th-day Sabbath, he talks about that one being special.
That's right.
So again, it's the 26th Sabbath. It's the 102nd day of the year, right in the midpoint, right there at the midpoint, beginning the second half of the year. So again, looking at these months again, you know how it can work. Right? This is Ethanim here. And when you look at this is Ethanim right here, and this is Ethanim right here, beginning on the 7th-day Sabbath. 10 days later, you have the Day of Atonement. The Day of Atonement will always be on the second day of the week, not like how it's going to be for others moving around. And some are going to even have the Day of Atonement right before the Sabbath. John never instituted that. Then we have the Feast of Tabernacles for that week. And then we have the 8th-day festival. And, when we look at this, again, this understanding here, you start to see that these are all the special times that Jah's numbered. He's giving you the dates of them in the 7th month. And what's unique is that this 8th day, when the 8th day of Tabernacle comes along, and it's the 23rd, it's also letting you know that there's 8 days left until the 8th month. That's right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then after that 8th day, bull, the 8th month begins. A lot of beautiful understanding of Jah's numbers and his perfection. So looking at it another way, Ethanim in the blue, finishing off, then Bul beginning, then Kislu beginning. That's the ninth month and ending off on the Sabbath, right? It starts on the Sabbath, ends on the Sabbath. Beautiful understandings here. You see how the weekly cycle is kept intact. All right, let's continue. Eighth and ninth months of Jah's Almanac. Hey, Shalom, Isaiah 53, and Shabbat Shalom to all who will be joining us and have been joining us. One love to you all. Bless up. All right, so now we have, let's do a little bit of a test. The right thing up top and then below, right, we have the wrong way. So let's say Ethanim was only supposed to have 30 days. That means it would end on that first day of the week, the Sunday, the first day of the week here. And if it ended on that first day of the week, that means the next month would have to start on the second day of the week. And if it had 31 days, it would end on the fourth day of the week. And that would mean that the next month has to start on the fifth day of the week. And if it had 31 days, it would still end here. But there's already 31 here. So they would probably have this one being 30. You understand? You couldn't have 30 because you wouldn't put 31 and 31 beside each other. No, you'd have it being 30. So if you had it 30 now, so you have 30, 31, and 30. Now you have the ninth month finishing off on the sixth day of the week and the 10th month beginning on the seventh day Sabbath, when we already know that this is the only month that can begin on the Sabbath. It's the seventh month. So you can't have another month beginning on the seventh day Sabbath. But the truth of the matter is that this here, we see it's from 25, 26 to 31. This is called the Feast of Dedication, that the Messiah also kept as well, and it's written about in the New Testament, but it was originated in the book of Maccabees. So I want to read that. Look at this date. It's the 25th. It's the month is called Kazlu. It's the ninth month. We say it's equivalent to October. And we have this 7 days. But this is really an 8-day festival, but we're only focusing on these months here, because if there were 7 days here, 25 to 31, that means the 8th day would have to be beginning the next month. So again, taking a look at here, how it works, you can see here, this ninth month has to begin on the fifth day of the week, no matter what. No matter how you're going to drop it, this 8th month will end on the 4th day of the week, if you had 30 days or 31 days. Again, it's that you see the perfection. Doesn't matter which way you turn. This is how the numbers have to operate. All right. So we have Bull. This is the 8th month. And then Kislew begins here on the 5th day of the week. This is the month that we're in right now. And we're on the 19th as we speak. We've just passed mid-autumn when Jeroboam and all the other individuals in this world who are keeping up what is it called? Yom Torah, the trumpets, and they're going to be starting from, the 23rd or 24th to keep the Day of Atonement up sometime in October. Well, I'm telling you. But anyhow, this is how this month looks. And again, this is where we are right now. There's no Gregorian months on this, just so people can't say, hey, you guys are using the Gregorian calendar. The Gregorian calendar has to use Jah's months. And this is why when we show Jah's almanac, we have to put the Gregorian dates upon it. Scripture.
1 Maccabees 4, verse 59. Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days from the 25th day of the month Kislew with mirth and gladness.
Mm-hmm. So this is the month Kislew, right? Right here. They call it Kazlu. This different spelling. This is the Hebrew spelling. This is the Greek spelling. We see that it's the 9th month. And it says here that should be kept in their season from year to year 8 days. And it starts from the 25th day, the 25th day. So all of Jah's festivals, first of all, all of Jah's festivals that are week-long festivals, that means the Passover, Tabernacles, and the Feast of Dedication, they're all based upon the weekly cycle.
That's right.
So they'll always start on the first day of the week and then it's just like the weekly cycle. That's just how it is. That's the blueprint, the foundation, and the pattern of which all the other weekly, which is the other two, or three festivals are based upon: Passover, Tabernacles, and the Feast of Dedication. You'll
Dedication.
notice that they all begin on the first day of the week. Here's Tabernacles, the first day of the week, ending on the eighth day, the first day of the week. And this is a first day of the week thing too. But it says here that it's going to be 8 days. So when we count, we got 25, 26, 7. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we need that eighth day. And we're at the end of the month now. So obviously, this eighth day, just like how the eighth day of Tabernacles is on the first day of the week, the eighth day of Kislev is going to be on the first day of the 10th month.
That's right.
And that means we're going to be moving out of autumn and going into that next season, which would be winter.
Winter.
So let's take a little bit of a look. I hope you hear what I'm saying. It's 8 days, but we only got 7 here. I'm just putting that up there. Now, when I was talking about how the feasts are week-long festivals, again, I want to use a couple of verses to help us out.
First Maccabees 4, verse 52. Now on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is called the month Kislev, in the 148th year. Moreover, verse 59, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days, from the 25th day of the month Kislev with mirth and gladness.
All right, so again, we got month Kislev. We know it's the 9th month. We got the 25th day, 25th day. We just read that. Let's continue.
Second Maccabees 1, verse 18. Therefore, whereas we are now purposed to keep the purification of the temple upon the 25th day of the month Kislev, we thought it necessary to certify you thereof, that ye also might keep it as the feast of the tabernacles and of the fire, which was given us when Nehemiah offered sacrifice after that he had builded the temple and the altar.
Okay, so what is kind of I guess what's the evidence here I'm trying to highlight? All right, so we read that the 25th. Again, we have the purification upon the temple, dedication, 25th day. But see, it says you also might keep it as the Feast of Tabernacles. And
that's right.
What that means in this area here is the Feast of Tabernacles is kept for 8 days, right? And it's also begins on the first day of the week to the 8th day of the week. So it goes from one first day of the week to the next following first day of the week, which is considered the 8th day.
That's right.
So let's just, this is the days of creation, right? Day 1. And I just put Gregorian thing on it, but it's Saturday evening. Day 2, that's Sabbath. That special foundation week, Jah set the 7-day weekly cycle as a foundation for all of time. Couldn't have a 6-day week, couldn't have a 5-day week. You can't begin a weekly cycle in the middle or anything of that nature. This is why it's so profound to understand that just 7s is the number of perfection. I think it's, what does it say somewhere in Proverbs? Wisdom has hewn her pillars. She has hewn out her 7. Yeah, wisdom has hewn out her 7 pillars, right? Yeah. So, we see that, looking at this chart as well, when it comes to the 7 days of Passover will always begin on the first day of the weekly cycle, and the 7th day of Passover will always be on the Sabbath. And that other day, the 8th day, the day after it, the sheaf would be the day after the Sabbath as well, which would be the first day of the week. But then we have the Feast of Tabernacles beginning on the first day, because it's the 15th, that evening that is the beginning, and you begin to count from the 16th to the 22nd. And then the 8th day would be the first day of the following week, which would be the 23rd. Then we have the Feast of Dedication, and we count it from the first day of the week, Kislev, 25, 7 days. And then the 8th day would be the first day after it. So you can see that Passover has a day after the 7th day. The Feast of Tabernacles as a day after the 7th day, called the 8th day, and also the Feast of Dedication has 7 days, and after the 8th day, after the 7 days, is an 8th day as well. 3 understandings of the weekly cycle and the first day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Kislev, the 9th month, which is coming up next month. It's gonna be beginning October the 9th. Let me look at my almanac. Yep, October the 9th. But here we are, the Feast of Dedication on the 25th. And it goes for 8 days. But the 7th day This is when autumn ends. And then the 8th day is the month Tibet, the 10th day. And that's the beginning of what? Winter.
Winter.
Right? Because the 10th month is the beginning of winter. Months 10, 11, and 12 are the last 3 months of the year, which begins the winter season. So let's take a look. What's going on here? The 7th month begins on the 7th day of the week. The autumn, the summer, sorry, the autumn season ends on the 7th day of the week. That 31st is the 7th day of the Feast of Dedication. And what does that verse say, brother?
John 10, verse 22. And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of the dedication, and it was winter.
That's right. You see, this last week basically is the unofficial starting of winter, because that's when the rain starts kicking in the last 2 weeks. But officially, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then after that is the 8th day. And that 8th day falls on the 10th month. And it's the beginning of winter. This is why the scripture says it was a feast of dedication and it was winter. And that means that the 10th month begins on the first day of the week. And of course, since it's going through months at the end of month 12, it's going to end on the 7th day of the week. So again, taking a look here, this understanding is very, very profound. Lady G says, okay, I see. Yeah,
Okay.
man, I'm glad to see it. My prayer is that people see this, because I know it's challenging, and it's like, if you don't stay diligent and focused, it can go over your head. But I don't want you to get frustrated. Please don't.
That's true.
Because I've known this almanac for 30 years, right? And I'm still, as I share it, I can sense the challenges that people may have when it comes to this understanding. But for all those 30 years, I wasn't sitting on my hands and just saying, hey, we have the true calendar. I was looking at every other calendar. And I, became, without boasting, a calendar expert on other calendars and the Most High's calendar. And that's not, I don't have a certification, but I just studied all those years, and I always study calendars. And it's something I just keep reviewing, because I know the challenges that come with this topic here. And in order to explain it, we have to be slow. You need charts. You need the verses to back it up. If people are just telling you to go look out the sky and the lunar cycle, I'm telling you, that's not the scriptural almanac.
That's right. That's great that you see it, Lady G, and I hope all the other brothers and sisters see it too. And you can see clearly when we put these numbers and table them in a calendar format, you can see that we're doing exactly what Jah told us to do. We are numbering our days and using Jah's scriptures to back it up.
That's right. All right. So let's look at these last 3 months, months 10, 11, and 12 of Jah's almanac. So we see that, with this scripture that we have here, we just read it, that winter, Feast of Dedication begins the winter. But we know that just from what we read, the Feast of Dedication begins the 25th of the 9th month, Kislev. So again, using our wisdom and connecting these things. So when we take a look at this almanac, we see that Tibet begins on the first day of the week and it ends on the second day of the week. That means that the 11th month is going to begin on the 3rd day of the week and end on the 5th day of the week for 31 days. And then the last month has 30 days, and that means it's going to begin on the 6th day of the week and end on the Sabbath day of the week, the 7th day of the week, which is the last day of the year, as we keep saying.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we're looking at all the months from the beginning. The year starts on the first day of the week. It ends on the last day of the week. We see here that we have the 3 months. We did all of their numbers. We showed how the Bible and counting, logics and wisdom and understanding carried us through the months. There was our 7th month with our festivals. We're in autumn. It began on the 7th day of the week, ends on the 7th day of the week. Summer begins on the 6th day of the week and ends on the 6th day of the week. And Winter begins on the first day of the week and ends on the seventh day of the week. So these are all the numbers, but I'm still going to get to that count to make sure the count is proper. So we have Tibet having 30 days, and then the 11th month Sabbath will begin after. Winter begins on the 8th day of dedication. So this is that 8th day of dedication, and that 8th day is going to be the first day of the weekly cycle. If you want to get verses of these dates, you just any verses on Jah's Almanac, when you look at 2 Kings 25, it's going to tell you the 10th day of the 10th month, or it'll say the 10th day of Tibet. All right, so this is the 10th month. All right, let's read something here.
Deuteronomy 1 verse 1. These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel on this side Jordan in the wilderness, in the plain over against the Red Sea, between Paran and Tophel, and Laban, and Hazeroth, and Dizahab. These are 11 days' journey from Horeb by the way of Mount Seir unto Kadesh Barnea. And it came to pass in the 40th year, in the 11th month, on the first day of the month, that Moses spake unto all the children of Israel according unto all that Jah had given him in commandment unto them.
Okay, so as we take a look at what's going on here, we see that it's the 40th year, obviously, because that's the 40th year from when the children of Israel came out of Egypt, right? The Exodus. And now we're in the 11th month, and it's the first day of the month. And when you're reading this is the beginning of Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 1. And I think the word Deuteronomy in the professed Hebrew means like reiteration, right? Or recap. And in Deuteronomy, Moses is speaking. So everything, Deuteronomy is a recording probably by Joshua, son of Nun, or it could be Moses still in terms of you got it on the mountain, and Jah gave him a preview of the future. But nonetheless, we know that this is Moses speaking to the children of Israel. And when he's speaking, that's the beginning of Deuteronomy. And all 33 or 34 chapters of Deuteronomy are Moses talking to the people. He might be sitting on a stone, a bench, or, whatever it is. He could be standing up on his staff. He was not weak. His strength was like how he was when he was 30 years old. His eyes were like how he was when he was 30 years old. Nothing went down on Moses, kind of showing us that although Moses didn't go into the promised land, Jah preserved him in such a great way. It's like he's ready, for the kingdom, if you know what I mean. Nothing diminished on Moses. Whereas as you age, your eyesight can diminish and definitely become more weak and feeble. But Moses could, for lack of a better word, he was just as fit as he was when he was younger. And that's what the Most High says, because he's a great preserver, and he preserved Moses because Moses was very faithful in all of Jah's house, as it says.
That's right. And that's a good thing that you're pointing out, is that these words that Moses spake to the children of Israel, he spoke to them knowing that he would not be going with them over into the land of Canaan. And so he's reiterating everything that Jah had told him to the children of Israel before his passing. And all the words that we read in Deuteronomy have been spoken to the children of Israel in one day.
That's right. Probably for most of all the morning, you know what I mean? That way. So here we are in the 11th month. Remember, it talks about, as we just read, it was the 11th month, the first day of the month, right? So here we have the 11th month. It starts on the third day of the weekly cycle. And Deuteronomy 1:3, we just read that, right?
That's right.
So we know that, Moses does die on this day. And he's doing a lot of talking, so he's talking for most of that day. And let's see how time goes by. Go ahead, Brother Javid.
Deuteronomy 34, verse 1. And Moses went up from the plains of Moab unto the mountain of Nebo, to the top of Pisgah, that is over against Jericho. And Jah showed him all the land of Gilead unto Dan. Verse 4. And Jah said unto him, This is the land which I swore unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob, saying, I will give it unto thy seed, and I have caused thee to see it with thine eyes, but thou shalt not go over thither. So Moses the servant of Jah died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of Jah. And he buried him in a valley in the land of Moab, over against Beth Peor. But no man knoweth of his sepulchre unto this day. And Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eye was not dim, nor his natural force abated. And the children of Israel wept for Moses in the plains of Moab 30 days. So the days of weeping and mourning for Moses were ended.
So very good information there, because now we have to be diligent and focused. So we see that, Moses does all the talking. We're in Deuteronomy chapter 34. So all of from Deuteronomy chapter 1 to 34, Moses is talking to the people. Right?
That's
right. A lot of talking is going on there, and that's going to be for a few hours, right? He's talking to the people for a few hours, and they probably, people are getting upset and anxious about things, and Moses, as Brother Javed said, knows this is his time. And I definitely would agree that the food back then was all natural and much more cleaner. But we know that this preservation of Moses is all of Jah. It wasn't because he was a healthy guy, because everyone else was eating the same natural food too, the manna and all of that. And we know, but I do hear what you're saying. Of course, the food was not better back then, but it has nothing to do with food. This is Jah. This is Jah letting us know that, I can keep you, I can protect you, I can preserve you, right? So he's doing all this, and he dies in the land of Moab. He died. Look at it. I want to point out here, verse 1. He went up from the plains of Moab onto the mount of Nebo to the top, and that's where Jah brings him up there. He has a conversation with him up there. He shows him all the land, and and he's getting ready to have words with Moses. And he puts Moses to sleep, and he's buried by Michael, the archangel. And that's when I know that the devil wanted to dispute. He wanted Moses' body. He wanted that body because it was preserved and strong, and if he could just kind of like go into that body or use that body, he could pretend Moses was alive, just like how that's what demons do. They pretend, oh, granny, you died, or this person, and people will say that they saw those things. It's really demons impersonating. And but that's besides the point. My point here is that a lot is going on. So in the morning, Moses is talking for a long time, goes up way afternoon. Then Moses does a long journey up a mountain. He's not walking up a hill. You understand? So he's climbing up this mountain, and he's up there for a while. So Moses is up there for most of the whole day. And, he's probably going to be buried by the end of the nighttime. And by this time, the people know that he's gone. So notice it says here, the children of Israel wept for Moses in the plains of Moab. 30 days they wept for him.
That's
Why?
right.
Because this is perfect for when you look at it, just in Jah's almanac. Moses goes up there and does all that talking for a while, and he dies that day. And you can see that there's 31 days in this month. How long did they mourn for him for?
30 days.
So when that day's over here, this is when they began their mourning, and it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got your 30-day mourning right here.
Wow.
And the 30 days ends at the 31st, right? Because it started on first, and you have again another piece of perfection of Jah's almanac in another way. Again, being diligent at looking what's going on here. First day of the 11th month, he does all that time passes, and then they mourn for 30 days, coming down to the end. Deuteronomy chapter 34, verse 8 was that 30 days talk about right there.
Wow. Well, you can see clearly how the 11th month is right in front of our face, but we're just not trained to see it. Moses spoke his last words to the children of Israel on the first day of the 11th month. He goes up to the mountain. Jah puts him to sleep. His body is buried. And then the children of Israel mourn for his death for the rest of the month, for 30 days.
Perfect.
You can see clearly how the 11th month has 31 days in that month.
That's right.
I hope the brothers and sisters see it, because it's right there.
That's right. He can't mourn until he dies. You understand? All right. So looking at it again, this is the first day of the 10th month. So it's on the first day. This is winter, the 8th day of the dedication. We go through Tibet. Tibet is the first day the 11th month, what we just talked about, they mourned for 30 days, and now we got Adar. And remember, when we look back here, the 31st day of the 11th month ends on the 5th day of the week. Therefore, the last month starts on the 6th day of the week. I hope these charts are helping you bring an understanding. So let's do our little what if thing. We have the first day of the week. We know that that's the start of the first day of the week. There's 30 days in the month, but what if it was 31? Right? So you can say, okay, it could be 31, and that means that this month would end on the third day of the week. The next month would start on the fourth day of the week, and that would be for 30 days. Then that would be the 11th month, but we know that the 11th month already is supposed to be 31 days, which is already eliminating. But nonetheless, let's say it was 30 days. We have the first to the 30. Notice here, notice here, the 30th day of the 11th month is on the 5th day of the week. Same thing with the 31st day being on the 5th day of the week as well, because it doesn't matter how you want to work at it. What's important now is that this 12th month has to begin on the 6th day of the week. It has to, right? Just like here, it ends on the 30th, it will begin on the 6th day of the week. And this month, because Sabbath, the 11th month has 31, this is going to have 30 and end perfectly on the last day of the year, which is the 7th day of Sabbath. This 14 and 15 here is when the Feast of Purim was moved. It was kept on the 13th, but when you read it, then they kept it on the 13th, 14th, and then they again moved it from the 14th to 15th to make it one long posh weekend for them. The Feast of Purim, I don't read about it in the New Testament, and I know it's spoken of particularly in Esther, and I know some people say that Esther shouldn't be in the scriptures. So we have the Zion Assembly, we acknowledge it coming through, but we're not big pushers of it because it's not like a Torah commanded or a law, a feast that's commanded for us to keep. But if individuals want to, we know the dates, and we've kept it over the last couple of years. Nothing special because they're not holy days like Sabbaths. Although the people rested, that was their choice. But if you want to do something special in honor of that time, read the book of Purim, cast lots, and give gifts to the poor. That's good because that's when they gave gifts to the poor. And this occurs during the 12th month, which is equivalent to January. So we've gotten through all 12 months, I think, brother. Adar, again, end of the year. We're looking at all of these understandings. We went from month 1 to month 12, and I don't think we missed anything. I don't think there was a stone left unturned to show the family. Now, this is going to be one of those videos you're going to have to watch again and maybe study. And you could ask all the questions. Well, why can't it be this? Why can't it be that? But then let the scriptures guide you, and you'll see just clean, pure scriptural months and his almanac. Sister Andrea says solid proof of the 11th month having 31 days.
Yes.
Okay, so before I move on, we've got the months covered. And again, the first day of the week, ending on the last day of the week. I'm going to show a couple of other things. Remember, the 7th month these are the main anchors. The main anchors are the first day of the month of the year, the last day of the year, and the beginning of the second half of the year, or the 7th month, or autumn. And then we have all of our other anchors with the festivals and the count to the Feast of First Fruits. Everything working out perfectly. Tabernacles, dedication, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and it was winter. Wow.
One thing to take notice of when you see the entire 12 months in front of you, we notice that the first month has 28 days, and then the rest of the months alternate between 30 and 31. But if you notice, between the 6th and 7th month, the first half of the year and the second half of the year, you have back-to-back 31-day months.
That's right. So Brother Javid is saying you got 28, then it goes 31, 30, 31, 30, 31. Now when you get here to 31, it's you think, oh, let's go with the same pattern, 30. But no, because what we've shown is it's 31. The second half starts with 31, 30, 31, 30, 31, 30. So yes, Brother David is saying once you get to the middle months, which is month 6 and month 7, those are the middle months of 12. They both have 31 days. And these are both the July and August are the warmest days of the year, almost on the earth, but definitely scripturally and in Israel.
That's right.
The 2 middle months. Wow. Yeah, so what we covered, again, we looked at every month. We proved that it was the first month was 28 days, began on the first day of the week. The second month has 31, began on the first day of the week. The third month has 30 days, begins on the fourth day of the week. The fourth month has 31, begins on the 6th. The fifth begins on the 2nd. You see it here. It's all here before you. I'll give you a second to take a look if you want to screenshot it. This is what the perfection of Jah's 364-day common year almanac. Mm-hmm. Remember, the equinoxes and the solstices are the middle of Jah's true scriptural seasons. So although you're in September now and they said, oh, autumn just started, you're in the middle of autumn. And it's going to quickly let you know that we're in the middle of autumn. And when November 9th comes around, or even November, you're going to get snow in November because it's the beginning of winter, not December. That's the middle.
That's right.
As you look at a monthly, the whole year, all right, so let's look at this. We have month Abib, 3 months season, 3 month summer season, the 3 month autumn or latter season, the 3 month early rain or winter season. In Abib, the first month, we have special times, Passover and unleavened bread, and the sheaf in the first month. Abib equals February. And then on the third month, the ending of the season, we have the Feast of Weeks, First Fruits or Pentecost in the third month. So something special starting the spring and the latter rains, and something special, ending the spring and the latter rains. And then we have our normal months, Judah, Dan, Elul. Then we get to the 7th month, which is a holy month, beginning of autumn, trumpets, atonement, tabernacles, and the 8th day in the 7th month, Ethanim equals August. So the beginning of autumn, we have some holy festival times, and at the end of autumn on the 9th month, we also have a holy festive time as well with the Feast of Dedication in the 9th month. So you can see the beginning of spring, the end of spring, the beginning of autumn, the end of autumn. These are your holy times. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
These are your holy times. Yeah, for sure. Lady G says, I saw leaves changing color in late August. Yeah, for sure. Even right near the beginning, but you are exactly right. And falling as well. And it's good that you have, you look into these things. A lot of people expect the season to just suddenly change and it's like whoosh from one to another. But if you're paying attention, you'll see the gradual shutdown of the last season and then the gradual growth of the next season. And that's what it's a transitional period. It doesn't just flick off and on like a switch. And if you're seeing things, and one thing I know my wife loves looking at, the weather outside that way too, and always showing pictures of the flowers, whether they're dropping or anything. And yeah, these things become so apparent. And we need to deal with when I say regular people who are not really into calendars and scripture that much, and you talk about it, sometimes they see it, but then when you say, no, you got to really look out there. Like even my neighbors and stuff like that, they'll see it, but it's like they can't believe it because like, yeah, mom, I see it, but it's still not autumn. I know I see the leaves dropping off my own tree and they're changing colors, but an autumn. And so it's like that's where this blinding is. It's a spiritual blindness that I wouldn't it's not about being spiritually wicked or spiritually dumb or not in tune or anything of that nature, but that I just believe that the Most High is just gonna slowly open up the eyes of people, just like a season. So he started with us. It's a few people, and then who knows? And I do believe Jah's Almanac has to go out to the world, whether it comes through, the Zion Assembly of Jah, which would be beautiful that, Jah spare our lives so we can get it out there so it could become like a thing. because that's when people have the choice to choose between the true festivals and the false festivals and calendars and false Messiah. You're going to start to see. And that's why I believe that we're not in the end times where even if America does fall, America is not fully Rome yet, and we're not there yet. We have a little bit more to go. But I know you can't tell people that. They're for sure thinking things are going to be finishing in our generation. And I would beg to differ. Now, I don't care if I'm wrong. If the Messiah comes, hopefully we're all living and being prepared every day. Whether if you knew he's going to come tomorrow or 10,000 years from now, or not even in your lifetime, you're supposed to be living righteous. But we're not seeing the Messiah come in this generation, and that's according to scriptures in many different ways. And you might think that a lot of people know about the truth and what's going on. It's just started. This is the beginning of sorrows. So I would be don't follow anybody that tells you to go to another country, go to the mountains or anything of that nature. And I know United States is a little bit of a different place, different things going on over there. We keep our prayers in for the brothers and sisters over there. Just got to be careful you're being blinded and manipulated though by the whole America thing, pride from time. I do think that it's good to, now that you got understanding of the scriptures more and who the people are and everything. But generally, you'll find that you got to start looking outside the box. If I was living in America, I would start looking outside the box a lot. I would start learning about other stuff besides America, because America is one country, and as much as it might be big on the scene, lots of stuff going on in the world. You understand? And people aren't in that same area of they feel like it's the end of days because they're in America. People who are not in America, can kind of see like, yeah, things are getting rough and everything, but it's not like people are having that feeling like, yeah, you know what, the trumpet is just around the corner to sound. I mean, I don't know who you may ask, and I don't really know if I'm generalizing here, but I can tell you that just be careful, man. This is the beginning of the end, but if you don't know things like the trumpets and all of these time frames and the times of the Gentiles and even who the two witnesses are, anybody could come on the scene and be the two witnesses, and you wouldn't even know how to discern. The two witnesses are angels, Michael and Gabriel. And so these are things I know people aren't teaching, but may God bless this ministry, and may I don't care if people subscribe to this channel. I really don't think subscribing is anything, but what is important is that people watch the videos, to me. And we put a lot of work in, and I'm inheriting work from another elder as well who's put great work in these things. And all of these charts that you see, as simple as they are, they're created by hand, and it takes time and takes understanding, and it takes the Most High to guide you. And so I just say these things I want people to look at this work and not think as it's some fly-by-night thing. Like I say, these charts and everything, 30 years as we move along, and it's a long time. It's most of my adult life, and all of the brothers and sisters of the Zion Assembly. And, there's some of young people who have been born into these things. And for you, those individuals could be my children and other young people, and these things from the back of your hand from you're younger. Please don't get complacent with it. And you have to understand, it's like something that's been handed to you, even though you've been nursed in it. It's very, very important and special. Otherwise, if it wasn't, you wouldn't have other people doing all these different things. And so I know how hard it can be for children to have a parent or parents who are, into the scriptures, and, as they would say, pastors' children and all that. Although I don't consider myself a pastor, it can be challenging, right? But now that they're older and understanding and can read and have wisdom too, that the Most High gave them, and not them only, but it's important for young people to catch these things, because I think the next generation is the one that we're going to have to really help, because what's happening right now is they're going to weed us out, and then once we get rid of all of us a little bit as things go by in the years, it's that next generation that's going to come up a little bit slower in spiritual things, but they're going to be more advanced in technology. You understand? And it's going to be a challenge. So all these things and the internet and AI, and I know everybody thinks AI is going to come and kill off everybody. You don't see that in the Bible, So I can't stand when people bring up stuff that's not in scripture. AI is not destroying this world. You understand? But there's a play, and there's wickedness, and it's all wicked. Don't get me wrong, but I just find that people go very extreme with things, hype up things too much, and just like whole heap of people talking about dreams, Even Israelites talking about dreams for the 23rd and 24th, which is the first day of their month, and there was the equinox. And no, even some brothers and sisters I know were talking about dreams and putting out videos about dreams, and it's shameful, you know. Whereas I
Mhm.
see a couple of men had to come and apologize for doing this and that. But why are you doing these things in the first place? Why are you gonna talk, say Jah told you this, and you're gonna ask Jah to open up your mind and then go to sleep and wake up, whatever you dream, you're gonna come and say, that's what Jah showed me just because you asked him? That's a wicked generation that seeks after a sign like that, eh?
True.
And
True.
people should repent off of those things, telling false dreams and people to do this and that. And I know what's gonna happen. The next super moon, red moon, blood moon, eclipse, anything. This is how the people them stay. They're very light and silly. But under that lightness and silliness is evil at work. Stop talking about your dreams and God spoke to you this and that and all of that. That's such folly. I don't care how I say it. You dream that God's speaking to you, you better know what he's saying to you. You better be true. Because when you go to sleep, it's just an echo of your mind and life. You know, people get so superstitious. Oh, they dreamed that person, they dreamed that person. Because it was on your mind, you know. You were thinking about it, and your mind and your subconscious is active during the nighttime. Why do people, if people, when I remember younger, you watch a scary movie, you go to sleep and you have scary dreams. You watch an adventure movie like Rambo. I used to have dreams all the time that I was being hunted in the forest by guys trying to get me, and I was Rambo, and I could kick off people's face and everything. But I mean, people are dropping this now because Acts chapter 2 says, God's going to give the handmaidens dreams and this and that. And, all this is going to happen. And everybody and their grandmother, they got little kids. Let's bring in the little children talking about, yeah, I dreamt and the sun opened up and they're boosting that.
Mm. Yeah.
That
Jah,
frustrates me.
Jah's not speaking to them in their dreams. If you're not paying attention to his words and reading them, then Jah's not speaking to you. He
Mm-hmm.
speaks to us through his words nowadays,
That's right.
right? In the latter times when probably the word is going to be taken away, Jah's going to do his work and reveal certain things to that generation ahead in the future through dreams and those things. And Jah's going to make it very clear who he's speaking to. But those people who are speaking those things now, they're lying.
Mm-hmm. They're speaking off of their heart, man. So says your Holy Bible. Yeah, so says I got this dream lesson that's backed up, man. I want to lace it up because I'm telling you. And it's frustrating to see people, yeah, spoke to me and said, and it's flooded with women, but man, these men are picking up things too, because I know that, the female thing is they're intuitive to their dreams. I've done
Of
I've done
course.
interviews and I've done scanning. I speak to people at my workplace, just generally, just they don't know what I'm talking about. So tell me about dreams and men and women, how it feels. All the women feel is like something special and it means something, and whether they didn't even believe in Jah, but it
Yeah.
means something. They getting some type of, and it's all women. And I say, well, what about men? I know men get these things too, especially the leader men. They're talking and kind of, as brother Isaiah talks about the Fleet of Africa thing. I think it's called Just a Word with whatever this guy's name is, and he left Jamaica off of dreams. And he's a very knowledgeable and wise guy. To be honest, he's a pretty good reader. But this guy
Mhm.
here, off of dreams, left and go to South Africa, then talk about the calendars from South Africa, then talk about Jerusalem is in South Africa, and then telling other people to come over there in South Africa because you have to leave Babylon, and South Africa is not Babylon. Because of dreams.
Yeah. Jah warns us greatly about paying attention to your dreams in such manners. And it's not surprising that women seem to take to their dreams more than men do in a, in a very strange way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Isaiah saying, yeah, that's why Jeremiah says, I have not spoken to these prophets yet. They run, and he's not spoken. That's right. That's one of the verses too. Oh,
Good
I
word.
hate hearing people talk about God spoke to me, God showed me, and God spoke to me in my dream. Anytime I hear people talk about that, I was like, you're lying,
Yeah, big red flag.
or the devil's deceived you to think that your own voice is Jah's voice, and then why is Jah gonna intervene in your life to tell you that you're gonna get that job? You think that's what Jah's dealing with? Oh, and then asking for signs. The scriptures, Messiah says, asking for signs is a wicked and adulterous thing. It's
Mhm.
wicked. Don't ask Jah for no sign that he's this and that and this and that's going on. Yeah, you could ask him to open up your understanding of scripture. And if you want to know Jah speaking to you, you have the Holy Bible. That's where Jah speaks to you.
That's right.
As Brother
That's
David
right.
said, we don't need dreams now. That's in the future when those guys are going to not have Bibles and they're going to need to move around and do certain things, but not for your daily life. And talk about, Yah told me, Yahoo. Yo, I type in Yah dreams, Yah spoke to me, Yahweh spoke. Yo, that thing is incredible. I typed in Jah spoke to me. I didn't see really much. And I'm not saying anything about names, but I'm just trying to tell you what's going on.
That's
the people
right.
who were in Christianity with all of that dream foolishness now they learn who they are and they come bring all of that garbage over there to talk about their Israelite now. And now Yah speaking to them, their family, their young members, and everybody's packing up, getting ready to go to the mountains, stocking up their fridges and stoves because false prophets are lying and they don't know the times and the signs of the times. And I'm over here screaming with my little small channel, stop that foolishness. But guess what? I get a lot of hate for that. People don't like me telling you, no, God does speak. You can't tell me that God don't talk to me. I want to tell you, Giant speaking to you in no dreams and telling you about your job, who's pregnant in your house, and how much fishes swim up the river, and all of them foolishness there. That's demon things. And maybe you're talking to yourself, and maybe the devil's talking to you because you're leaving an opening for Jah to give you a sign. So once you say, oh, Jah, I need a sign to see something, boom, Jah says he's not going to do it. Now the devil's like, oh, yeah, man, let me give a sign. Boom, see a light here, see the birds there, see this little thing here. Oh, remember that dream? And now all of a sudden you're enveloped into Satanism and thinking and calling upon Yah, saying, yeah, Yah told me. I have brothers. And yo, you better apologize and repent. Don't tell me about your dreams. Man's still talking about Barack Obama's the Antichrist from their dreams. But it's like, that's what they were dreaming back then at that time, and people were talking about it, and now they're coming with this foolishness. Oh, it bothers me because people are changing the faith because somebody dreamt something or said they have a special message from God. And Jah know work the way then. We know how Jah works. You understand?
That's right. They want to lean on their dreams more than the word of Jah. If you want Jah to speak to you, read his word.
That's right. Like the Southern guy that said God took him to the fruit and brought him back, and this is why he said the raptors in September. Yeah, man, all of them guys there, they lie. A black man, and I didn't even watch the video, but I said, I have to apologize. And I saw that was the title of his thing. You better apologize. You better apologize to Jah, leading people astray with these things. And you can all say to me all you want, I don't care. Yeah, well, you can't tell me that Yah not talking to me. You're not in my head and everything. I have Jah word. And it says all scripture is there for correction, for reproof, for test the spirits. And if you're going to tell me about your dreams and it contradicts Jah's word, forget that.
Forget that.
Don't try to expound on something that's already been expounded. Oh, I dreamt that, I saw the menorah in heaven and, there were the angels. Yo, Jah already told you that in the Bible. What are you talking about? You saw that in your dream. Yo, I can't stand these things, eh? You can tell I'm worked up about it because, it's disgusting.
Yeah. Well,
I can't
they lead many people astray with their false dreams, so that's why they have to be stopped.
Well, the blacklist. I'm just reading what Brother Isaiah is saying on the screen. Yeah. All the time. The black lady. Yeah. I know what you're saying, brother. Yeah. Everybody's talking about when they see, especially back then, before anybody had knowledge, and they talk about the Messiah, come talk to them say a Jesus and a white guy. Them say that them see him in a dream and then talk to them in a dream. Now, them same people there who come over and talk about their Israelite and all that stuff, and they learn about the blackness. Oh, now I seen him again and he talked to me in my dream. How did he look? Well, you know what I mean? Like, really, man. It's just reason why is because people are changing the faith and following people and leaving because somebody said that the Most High spoke to them. Is that how gullible we've become? I mean, I get it in Christianity. That's what they live off of. You want to become a Christian pastor? Just say God spoke to you in a dream, and boy, you got followers.
Yeah.
And women doing all these phone calls and these phone clubs and everything, and you're messing up. Oh, she's divining and she's interpreting all these other female dreams, and you have these women clubs of dream interpreters. Get out of here with that foolishness. I don't care. Nothing about women hating on women or men. Just get out of here with that foolishness, that evil thing. Don't bring it around here. Don't talk. When God's gonna give us a dream or a vision, we'll know it's a proper one, and it's gonna be for something. Not
That's
gonna be
right.
about my daily grind. God's gonna be
That's
like, and He will confirm it's Him too.
that's
So,
right.
yeah, that's my point.
Yes, brothers and sisters. Jah warned us to beware of these individuals who say such things, and He's given us the scriptures so that we can discern and put these people to the test. If they don't match up with Jah's word, we know to disregard them,
That's
not
right.
be gullible, as Sean is saying, and just follow the blind, leading the blind into the ditch.
Yeah, man, it's really disheartening, man. I can't believe how much people talk about dreams, and especially in the Israelite thing there. And that's why you have to watch. Just because man is black and talking about their Israelite doesn't mean it's true at all. You gotta have much more greater wisdom than that. And people say, "Well, you can't be shooting on our brothers. It's like crabs in the bucket every time black people do." Yo, a truth we are dealing with. You are dealing with melanin and skin color only, or are you dealing with truth? If you're dealing with truth, all of those other things are secondary. You don't follow somebody just because they're part of your family, just because them look like you, just because them come from your country, and all of this and that, and I talk about black power and everything, and all of that American racism pushed on the world thing. You understand? Don't work like that at all. And I'm not following on those things, whether we believe we know we're Israelites or not. But I ain't following that. And I know the dream is a big thing. And if any woman telling people you're dreaming, you thought, oh, somebody dies. Did you dream him? You dream him? What do you mean you dreamed him? And if you don't dream the person, it's like you're out of the dream loop, It's like your dreams are your mind, what's going on. And if you're open to the devil and you love watch evil and pornography and all of that stuff, then you know what's going to be going on in your dreams too. And that's where the succubus and all those people talk about the demons that invade your dreams. They're coming through your eyes. You're giving them loopholes to come into your mind. So now you're going to have the satanic dreams and all of that stuff going on in your mind, whatever it is. And you know how strong these things are. You wake up from a dream, you think it's real. You understand? And now when it comes to sexual dreams, it doesn't know what can happen. Even the scriptures talk about it. Something can happen. That's how strong these things can be in your mind and in your body.
True.
Yeah, man. So anyhow, let me just finish up the last like a 5-minute thing here, yeah? Yo, so I want you to notice something here. Go ahead, brother.
So the 28-year solar season cycle. The solar cycle is a 28-year seasonal cycle of 10,227 days, which always keeps the seasons in order. The Julian and Gregorian calendars use the 28-year cycle with respect to the 7-day weekly cycle. It occurs because leap years occur every 4 years, and there are 7 possible days in a week to start a leap year, which synchronizes with Jah's 28-year creation cycle of sevens.
So
4
remember
times
that
7 equals 27.
Sorry.
Times equals 28.
Yeah, man. Sorry about that, brother. So remember we showed that chart, the one going across with the 28-year cycles, and we counted the leap years that were in yellow highlighted. And we said the 7 leap years cover each day of the week. Well, that's what this statement is saying, right?
Yes, I remember. Yeah.
You see, when you start to get into things, there's a 20-year cycle that has 10,227 days. And you're like, what kind of number is that? Where are you talking about? Why are you bringing it up? And that's how it was for me when I first heard these things. I'm like, it sounds like an arbitrary number, but it's actually a great multiple of 7. You see, when you start to look at things, this Gregorian 28-year cycle, it has 10,227 days. And how they do this is that, they have, regular days, regular years. So 365, 365, 365. They say it's and a quarter, but they don't count that in that year. So they'll just say your regular year has 365 days, and then they say a leap year has 366 days. Why? Because this quarter is like 25 cents, this 25 cents, this 25 cents, this 25 cents, and this 25 cents gives you $1 a whole day. So they take this so-called quarter from each of these years and apply it and give you 1 day. And so you'll have 1 day here. This is a 28-year cycle. This is how they operate. You see that 1, 2, 3, 365, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 times 3 is 21. So you have 21 common years of 365 days, and then you have 7 leap years. We spoke about that before, right? One,
Mm-hmm.
2, 3,
Yep.
4, 5, 6, 7, and each of them will start on a different day of the weekly cycle to cover at. So we have 7 times 4 is 28. When you do this math here, so look at what we're doing here is you're going to add up all this 365. You're adding up 365 plus 365 plus 365. You do all of that math, and it's going to come out to 10,227 days. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when you divide 10,227 by 28, the 28-year cycle, this is what it comes out to 365.25.
5.
It's a number thing. When they tell you that the Earth is going around the sun and all of that, and the solar system and 360, that's all a bunch of folly, folly. They're not looking at no sun, moon, and stars and them thing. They're operating with numbers. You understand?
That's right. They're
Although
playing.
the sun, moon, and stars have a play, but it's a mathematical observation.
Yep.
It is a mathematical. This is why they have a 365 and a quarter day year. Let me finish it up, continue going on a little bit more. See, this Gregorian 28 years calendrical cycle is made up of, like I said, 10,227 days. We have our year type, which is the common year of 365, or the leap year. We have the number of days in the year, which is 365, which is really 52 weeks plus 1 day, because 52 times 7 is 364. But there's that extra day. That's why the calendar keeps moving from the weekly cycle. And then we have the leap years of 366 days, which is 52 weeks plus 2 days. So since we have 21 of them, 21 times 365 gives us 7,665. That's the total number of common year days. Then we have
Mm-hmm.
leap years. 7 times 366 gives us 2,562. You add two of these together, it gives you 10,227, which is 21 plus 7 is 28 years in that cycle. This is the
Mm-hmm.
amount of days that are in like a perfect 28-year cycle for the Gregorian calendar. Now the thing is here is they're taking their things from Jah. See, there are 3 types of years within Jah's 28-year cycle. They're the common year of 364 days, 52 weeks, the minor Sabbath year of 370 days or 53 weeks, right? There's 3 of them. The major Sabbath year of 378 days or 54 weeks, and there's only one of them. And this is what I'm talking about. This is the major Sabbath year, number 28. Then you have a minor Sabbath year. Every 7th year is a minor Sabbath year. That's this year. 1, 2, 3, and you have 4. All the other numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's what you call common years. They have 364. This says 371. 364, 371. When you get to the 20th year, you have 2 extra weeks, 378. But let's count these things. All these days added up also give us 10,227 days of perfection. Let's take a look what I'm talking about. We have a 28-year cycle from 1 to 28. The common years are 1 through 6, 364-day years. Then we have every 7th year is a sabbatical year. We have 371 days. So you see there's 3 sabbatical years of 371, 1 of 378, and there's 24 common years. Right? Let's look at it this way. 364 plus 364 plus 364 plus 364 plus 371 plus 3, add up all of these things, add up all of these numbers here. And what it'll give you? 10,227 days forever. I want you to take a look at this. Remember, this is Jah's almanac. They had the year type. We have the common year. There's 364. It's a perfect 52 weeks. There's 24 of them. 24 times 364 is that number, 8,736. We have the minor Sabbath year I spoke about. We're going to learn about this next week, but I'm laying the foundation. 371 days or 53 weeks. That's 1 week more than this, an extra week. 3 times 371, because there's 3 of them, gives you 1,113. Then you have the major Sabbath year. There's only one. It's 54 weeks, or extra 14 days, 2 sevens, 378. Obviously, that gives you 378. You add up all these together, it gives you 10,227 days. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we see that the Gregorian calendar, the Jah's calendar almanac is 7 times 4. We see that the Gregorian calendar is 4 times 7. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sabbatical year. 1, 2, 3, 4 leap year. There's 7 leap years. You see how they do this 7 times 4 and 4 times 7? I want you to see that it's a play around the same numbers. So when you do Jah's numbers up here, again, you add them up, 10,227 days. You add it up down here, the Gregorian calendar, 10,227 days. The Gregorian calendar is stealing things off of Jah's almanac. This is the perfect almanac. This is the Gregorian calendar. And this is why it can move in such an accurate way without a whole bunch of things like the lunar calendar. Right? So we're ending here with the number of days in a common year, 364. When we look at Adar here, I just want you to see this. There's 30 days in Adar, winter. When you got the minor Sabbath year, look at here. Adar now is going to be 37 days long. That's 7 days extra, right? That's for the 371-day minor Sabbath year. That's the only thing that's changing. Now, major Sabbath year is going to be 2 extra days from 30, which is 44, 14 days, 378 days. So this is how this would work here. And you can see this in all kind of ways. The common year, 30 days in Adar. The minor Sabbath year of 371 days, 37 days in Adar. The major Sabbath year, just 378 days, 44 days in Adar. Perfect, right? 12 months, 364. That's what this is. Now I want to show you the minor. Look at the minor. It's 364 plus this 1 week here. And then for the major, we have the 2 weeks right here, right? So that's how Jah's thing look all around perfectly. Jah's almanac. All praise, glory, and honor to Jah, Yah, our Abba, and his only begotten Son, Jehoshua the Messiah, the true Nazarite, who died for our sins, also known as Yehoshua, Yahusha, Yahawashai, Yahshua, Yeshua, Yeshaya, Jesus, Joshua the Messiah, HaMashiach, the Christ, our Savior. Praise Jah and Jehoshua.
Praise Jah.
Thank you, everyone, for